welcome, welcome. Hope you all are doing well. How are things? I see we got AVA in here. Good friend and mod and fellow veteran. And you guys should all check out his channel. I'm trying to get him to start doing live streams. Got DK Lucas in here. Good morning. Check out his channel, Paranormal Computers. Let's see who else we got. We got people from all over. Weatherford, Texas. I'll have to look that up. I've never Tammy, do I have you on the map? I'm not sure if I do. I don't remember Weatherford. I'll have to look up where Weatherford is. Fingers aren't working yet. Yeah, I'm that way. Like with my knees, it takes I thought that was closed. With my knees, yeah, you gotta kind of ease into everything. Whoa. I get very frustrated with this webcam. The reason I use it is because it does allow me to adjust it easier than some of the others. Some of them are like set, like dead straight. It's like, what are you doing? Paranorma computer. Sorry. Or no, panorama computer, not computers. I screwed up. I'm sorry. West Central Florida. So, are you north of Tampa? I hope you all are having a good morning. It's an interesting morning here. I've got family in town. So I was trying to be a part of the whole uh, convoy broadcast last night, but my uh, my internet was acting up. So it was really frustrating because I could download, but upload was taking forever. So if you guys didn't see much out of me last night, that is why. And I'm with my new internet provider. I haven't had as many problems with my old place. Oh, I had Spectrum problems all the time. If we had a windstorm, I would lose internet. And I kept asking them, I'm like, why am I losing internet with a windstorm? And they're like, well, it's a windstorm. I'm like, okay, I understand. Why am I losing internet? They're like, well, it's a windstorm. I'm like, fiber optic cables are buried. Why am I losing internet? And they couldn't tell me why. So that's why I was eager to get away from them. Hey, none of that. I do need to add. I've got a new sound. Excuse me. You go out there if you got a problem. Whoa. I've got a new sound that I need to add to the soundboard. Let me download it here. Because once I get it on here, you guys will understand. And yeah, I wish I could have been a part of that stream. You know, I'm not a big gamer, and I think the reason I'm not a big gamer is because I just don't have a lot of friends to game with. And that becomes a part of it. So here, I'm going to show you guys. I'll share what I'm doing. And there we go. Now here's the clip. Whoa, it's in the wrong. Well, I gotta split that. Boom. And then I'm gonna delete this. Move this over. And now I'm gonna export. And I'm gonna call it Werewolves. And there we go. And now that is saved. And now all I have to do is add it to the soundboard. Soundboard, where is Werewolves? There we go. And now, whenever Spawn Trooper comes on, Werewolves of London. And that is pretty loud, so I'm going to turn that down. So here we go. Trying again. Werewolves of London. So there we go. That is when Spawn Trooper comes on the show, we play that one. When Radis comes in, we play Do You Come From a Land Down Under. Now we need to get one for Squid, and we need to get one for Squirrel. And I'll figure out something for TC. But yeah, so now we got something. Speaking of which, I'm surprised Spawn Trooper is not here. He might be asleep if he was up late playing the game. There, send him a message. Sorry about that, Heather. I apologize. Oh, Jen's got an appointment this morning. Yeah, here we go. Spectrum residential connections are ridiculous. They have monopoly in my area. They go down every time a squirrel pisses on the service line. Yeah. So what I have with Verizon is I've got a little box that pulls from the 5G network. So it's the same thing. It's the same service I use my cell phone, but it's incredibly fast. I can game on it. I can stream on it. No problems whatsoever. On paper, it's not as fast as what Spectrum was offering me, but in practice, oh, it's absolutely, absolutely faster. And because my router is on the other side of the house, what I do is I have it's a Belkin, it's the inline where it sends the internet connection across your electrical line, and then I've got another router plugged in here. So I've got two Wi-Fi signals going out, one on one side of the house, one on the other. And this is connected to the router. The computer is connected to the router via hardline. And because sometimes Wi-Fi will drop, I've learned that while streaming the last several years. So I try to use a wired connection. So I'm pretty much wired in, other than to the Verizon router, and it works really good. I mean, I can't think of in the year I've been here too many streams where I've had a big problem with it, and you guys are seeing that. I'm just laughing about. Did you guys notice the yeah, the whole thing with hold on, I'll pull it up. With the leeches posted a picture they claim is Jeremy, and it's clearly not Jeremy. And I made a post about this, so if you're not in the Facebook groups, I'll show this to you. Where you at here? Here we go. Boom. I gotta put everything in its right place. Okay. So they're claiming that this is Jeremy with his arm out the window recording. Jeremy doesn't own a green truck. I don't think he's ever owned a green truck. I've been watching him for 4 years. I've never seen a green truck. Oh, and this doesn't appear to be a diesel truck. Uh, like people were posting what Jeremy's truck looks like, but I started looking at this. This is an old picture. Um, there's like these posts are the small fence posts that they had previous to their bigger fence. Now they have taken the stuff off the big fence, but you can see. Look at how big these poles are. See how much taller they are. They're they're taller than these because look, these don't even get. Yeah, I understand there's a little bit of a dip, but they still don't even get to the top of the vehicle. Whereas if we go to these here, these are really tall. And he did put that up along the whole length of the property. Now this is over in this area here. So like Tubetown would be like right here. Uh yeah, and the other thing is the last times we saw this, I mean, and don't get me wrong, they could have trimmed things up, but there was a lot of undergrowth along this fence line here. But I could believe, yeah, they trimmed it up, but where are the big fence posts? I don't believe that they took those out. I don't believe it for a second. So the leeches, they're posting things I'm not I'm not believing. And the other thing, if you guys watched um one thing, 2 days ago, me and Spawn Trooper, we were showing the whole thing with Adam Kinzinger. I didn't know everything about that. I just saw that one picture and we were talking about it. Um, Let me see if I can pull up that picture again. Oh, actually, you know what? I think it's in my recycle bin. Uh, Without having to look it up, something crazy. Oh, excuse me. Uh, Recycle bin would have been on the store. Okay. So the thing we were talking about with Adam Kinzinger the other day. Yeah, here we go. We are going to share this. So with this photo and everything about it, this uh, there was actually a journalist who was injured during this. So they had shot one of these targets, and the reason why you don't shoot steel targets like this is it's incredibly unsafe. You get ricochets, and that's exactly what happened. A ricochet came back and it nicked a journalist in the arm, and they were bleeding. And they actually put a tourniquet, and you only use tourniquets for arterial bleeds. So if an artery is not hit, and there's no artery on the outside of your arm, so if an artery is not hit, you don't use a tourniquet. You just wrap it up. You apply pressure. Um, but yeah, they did a tourniquet because they were going to show off their life saving skills they were uh, given in the military. Well, I don't know about Lucas, but Kinzinger, he is Army or he is Air National Guard. So he only got refresher training once a year for qualification on his weapon. Which look how big this scope is. This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous scope for something like this. Like the other one, like this one has some magnetic abilities, but it's for the most part it's an open sight. That I kind of understand. Um, But yeah, this one is just ridiculous. Um, uh, I do want to address your question here, host picker. I just want to finish my thing. So yeah, like everything about this that we can tell that we told just the other day, like is ridiculous. How many AR-15s are here? Like storing tannerite. This is tannerite right here. This is tannerite. That is an explosive material. It's not flammable, I don't believe, but an impact causes it to explode, and they're shooting above it. It's so irresponsible. And look how many AR-15s. If they had two, maybe three, just because they had a setup, but they've got like all these ones. They're trying to prove some type of point, which is that they're gun experts and they're military. Like, yeah, I make fun of dudes like this. And like I said, like this broomstick is gonna pop out of his hand because he doesn't have a firm grip on it. You gotta grip that thing. Someone someone could come up and hit the muzzle and knock that thing out of his hand. And rightfully so, because he's got a weak pistol grip and then he's got a weak grip on the broomstick. Like so much wrong with this. Um, and my one buddy has just said he's got his finger on the trigger and he's not pointing at any of the targets. That he's essentially almost in the alert because there's the ready, the alert, and then um, uh, what's the other one uh, where you're looking over the sights. So yeah, he's kind of in the alert, but you don't put your finger on the trigger unless you're aiming in and ready to fire at these. And yeah, like we were trying to see which one of these he was aiming at, and he didn't feel he was aiming at any of them. I thought it could maybe be these ones, but when you draw a line, it doesn't really look at it. So I believe the scope that can see close to due to the focal length of the lenses. Yeah, right, right. So this is very amateur. Okay, now I'm going to get to where would be the best place for a vet to start to get help with getting a house. First off, I would find a good realtor that you trust. Um, if you don't have one, start talking to people around. Also, talk to other veterans who've used the home loan. Uh, it- I hate not being able to give you a good answer, but every area is kind of difficult. Different. Every market is different. So the VA home loan, it's just VA backed. That's what you need to know. So, but there are people who don't want to do a VA home loan because there has to be an inspection. And if there's inspections, that means there's probably going to be things that they find wrong, which means it's going to be things that the seller has to fix. So there are some sellers who are like, no, I'm not going to sell to someone with a VA home loan. Um, but here's the one good thing. If there's a plot of land with a foundation on it, not even a building, but a foundation, you can use a VA home loan to buy land in that aspect. I need more coffee, so I'm going to take a quick break, get some coffee and something to eat. Okay, I'm back. But yeah, there were a couple things I didn't know about that story with Kinzinger. Um, they can try the DAV. I don't know if the DAV does anything with the VA home loan. The DAV, I know they do a lot of stuff with claims, but the DAV does not do loans themselves. Now, there is a place out there called Veterans United. They're a lender. I don't know how good they are. I've heard some people say they're good, some people say they suck. So, talk to other veterans. That's the best I can tell you in your local area. Yep, I think he's not aiming anything. Just put his finger on the trigger. That was my buddy's concern. He has been a range safety officer in the Marine Corps, and we were laughing about that yesterday. He actually was watching the other morning, but not commenting. So here's what's sad. These people are trained. You know, these guys are trained. They're not, you can tell they're not as experienced with weapons. Sorry if you can hear me eating. Just looking at things here. I'm going through my Twitter this morning. You guys can join me on it. Little Twitter escapades. Here, I'll put like, I hate that. Well, I'll do it like that. No. I always like looking through, seeing what's going on. Yeah, Pennsylvania. Early voting. Here, let's watch this.
You mentioned that New York Times poll, a tie. That's actually right of the spectrum when we're talking about recent polling data. You don't have to look very far to find Donald Trump ahead nationally. He was up by Trump may finally get his great white whale. Harris versus Trump national margin. You mentioned that New York Times poll, a tie. That's actually right in the middle of the spectrum when we're talking about recent polling data. You don't have to look very far to find Donald Trump ahead nationally. He was up by 2 points in the CNBC poll, up by 3 in the Wall Street Journal poll. Very close races within the margin of error. But then the same thing on the other side, right? You have Harris up by 3 points according to Ipsos. The Say 24 YouGov poll, it's a bunch of academics, also has Harris up by 3. But the bottom line is, with the popular vote, which we really haven't focused upon, a very, very tight race, John. Fact is, Donald Trump is very much in a position he could win the popular vote, which, of course, is something he would absolutely love to do.
And would be something very different than we have seen compared to last time and the polling compared to last time.
Exactly right. So I went back through the time machine, all right? I went back through the time machine to see where were the past 2 races at this point in the campaign. Look, Harris in the average poll.
Here, don't believe Enton's aggregate. I'm going to tell everybody this. Follow Real Clear Politics. It's probably the most fair place out there. They do both left and right stuff. Follow their aggregate.
Right now is up by 1, well within the margin of error. You go back 4 years ago, Joe Biden was well ahead of Donald Trump in the national popular vote polls. He was up by 9. Even Hillary Clinton was up by 6 points. So now Donald Trump's in a position he really hasn't been before at this point in the campaign, where he could truly compete, and we can truly say that the popular vote at this point is way too close to call. Of course, this is only going back 8 years. I wanted to jump even further back in my time machine to get an understanding. Hey, I haven't heard about a Republican potentially winning the popular vote in a while. And it turns out a Republican winning the popular vote, it hasn't happened since 2004 in George W. Bush defeating John Kerry. And that's only the one time that it has happened. In fact, you have to go all the way back to 1988 to find another one, when it was George W. Bush's father, George H.W. Bush, winning the popular vote over Michael Dukakis. So the fact that the polls right now are so close, John, the fact that Donald Trump has a legitimate shot of winning the popular vote is something I think a lot of folks, including in my line of work, really didn't think could possibly happen when Donald Trump was running last time around. He could make history, not just for Donald Trump, for a Republican candidate as well.
Now, there are some reasons for this, and I think Democrats' heads are all exploding out there watching this right now. There are some reasons for this, which you're going to explain, but also begin to raise the possibility that we could see the reverse. We could see the reverse of things we've seen, where a Republican wins the popular vote, but there's a chance for the Democrat to win the Electoral College.
Yeah, part of my job is to warn our viewers on either side of the aisle of an event that may occur that they don't necessarily like, and Donald Trump winning the popular vote could absolutely happen. You might as well wrap your minds around it now, folks, if you don't like Donald Trump. But on the flip side of that, a potentially good sign for Democrats is, why is Donald Trump doing so well in the popular vote polls? You can dig down into the state level polling and you can see that Donald Trump is doing particularly well in California, Florida, New York, and Texas. Of course, none of these states are really on the board at this point, so Donald Trump may end up gaining in the national popular vote polls, but actually he's wasting votes, which could in fact lead to a case where Kamala Harris could sneak by in the Electoral College by sweeping those Great Lake battleground states, which at this point are way too close to call, John.
That's right. It'd be interesting to see then if all that talk about Electoral College reform takes.
There is no scenario, not one, where Trump does better in California and New York and does not win all, if not most, of the swing states. There's no scenario, none whatsoever. You see some of these nationwide trends per demographic, and if he's making gains in California and New York and knocks that 20-point advantage, 25-point advantage down, 5-10 points, he'll still lose those states. But there's no scenario where if that happens, he loses the swing states. It just wouldn't happen. Have you accidentally eaten your beard? No, but hairs have gotten into my mouth while I'm eating. So she has no chance winning in Michigan. Of the Rust Belt states, I think Michigan is the one that she has the most support in. However, it's also the state where the third parties hurt her the most. Pennsylvania, the third parties actually hurt Trump. But in Pennsylvania, Jill Stein, she gets a lot of those Ann Arbor academics. She pulls a lot of them over. But I think Trump's made a lot of inroads in Michigan, mainly in, believe it or not, Detroit. Wayne County, Oakland County. I forget what the one is just north with not Auburn Hills, but begins with a P. Pontiac. I think he's made a lot of inroads because a lot of those are very blue collar people. As you're seeing, Trump is doing well with uneducated people. And when I say uneducated, I mean they just don't have a college degree. He's doing better with them than what he did in 2020, and in some polls doing better than what he did in 2016. That's why there's people who aren't willing to take Minnesota off the board. Because there are parts of Minnesota that there's a lot of blue collar people. I think Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are more likely to go red than Michigan, only because Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer is a very effective governor in terms of getting things done, and people don't realize when there's these elections how much of a strength it can be to have a governor. But if you have an effective governor, one who can, say, okay, I want these things done, how much that can be. In terms of getting out the vote, an effective governor really can turn things around. So that's the only thing I see with Michigan is Whitmer. She could potentially keep that blue. Shapiro, in Pennsylvania, right now, I would. Here's the thing we're saying, and we had Larry on. Harris is not doing well in Pennsylvania at getting out the vote. They're not hitting their numbers that they need to, and that's going into these elections. they know, okay, we have to get votes of these people between this and this, and then we have to get these people between this and this, and then there's a little bit of variations. Um, and yeah, across the board, Harris is not hitting her marks, but it's very pronounced in Nevada. I think Nevada now is going to go red. Um, put the polling aside, what we're seeing in actual early voting data, the Democrats are getting beat on early voting, and they're not doing as well in mail-in voting that what they've done in the past. So I think Nevada's going red. I think Arizona's going red. Um, like Arizona, I think is going to be one that's as soon as the polls close, they're going to call it. So and that's a trend that you see in that geographic area, and it's very similar to where I live, which is a very red part of California. So yeah, I that's how I see that going. I don't think Carolina is a purple state. What we're seeing in there is that Harris is not hitting her marks. Republicans are. Same thing with Georgia. Um, so it's going to come down to the Rust Belt. Which one of these Rust Belt states can they take? Now there are Virginia, New Hampshire. What she's not hitting her marks there. Though and the polls are the polls. When it actually comes to votes, you have to have a good get out the vote effort, and that's where Trump actually didn't do as well. Where the Democrats did in 2020 was the Democrats had a very good mail-in ballot, early vote ballot, get out the vote effort, and you're not seeing that. And there are people who want to argue with me, and that's okay. You can disagree, but when you look at the campaigns and how they're acting right now, uh, Harris's campaign is acting in disarray. Trump's is acting like you know things are going well. Oh, I'm sorry. We got. Oh no, no. I thought we had a guest in here, but yeah, that's what you're seeing there. Where can I there get out of that? So yeah, Trump could win, and if Trump takes the popular vote, he's winning the electoral college. It's just the demographics in the states and the way those votes are allocated. Um, yeah, and that'll be an early if Trump wins the popular vote. That'll be an early night. Like we're not going to be up at midnight. Ba, ba, ba. Cook political gain ground. New York's House races overall. Mike Lawler moves some toss up. Okay. Dave Wasserman. I mean, he's a Democrat. And Godersky, he's a Republican. A lot of people on my list I don't follow. You'll notice that. Like, I care about their opinions, but not enough to where I want them. I don't want them in my following feed. I want them in these lists where I can, when I want to go look at it. You should, if you're on X, you should be using lists. Yeah, yeah. This guy's correct. Early voting is a disaster for voter registration is even worse. Polling, yeah, she is not. She all the ones here, and okay, John Ralston, he's a Democrat. He is kind of like the go-to guy for Nevada. In-person gains for GOP are remarkably consistent. Latest is plus 4K. So he'll update his blog. I do enjoy his blog, even though he's a Democrat and I'm not. But he gives very good analysis. So this is the early person. This came in late last night. They had the mail-in vote. He was reporting that. So that's just one aspect of it. But yeah, you put them together. I do want to get to this comment. Many of the Amish have come out and registered to vote this year. Yes, that is very true. And that's because the Biden administration, specifically the Department of Justice, has gone after unpasteurized milk. And they want everybody to pasteurize their milk. And there's some big lawsuits about it that are probably going to go to the Supreme Court. And it has the Amish, who are normally apolitical, They just want to stay in their community, be left alone. It's getting them, they're registering, and they're like, no, we're gonna do this. And that is huge in Pennsylvania, Ohio, um, to some extent Maryland, and to some extent Indiana. Uh, it, Maryland has a big Mennonite community, but yeah, it's big for those because those are people who they're low voters. So, and I got into it. If you follow me on Twitter, you see I got into it with a liberal the other day, and he was saying that the Republicans doing well in early voting is actually bad for the Republicans. Um, they're cannibalizing their vote, and that can happen. It can happen. What that means, you're getting the people who normally would vote on election day, you're getting them out early uh, for early voting. So you won't have them to rely on election day, which normally Republicans do very well on election day, getting their people out. And uh, you know, the thing about it is that's all well and good if that's your argument, but you need data to support it. So in Pennsylvania, Democrats went from 4.2 million people and they lost 300,000. So they had 4.2 million registered Democrats. Now it's down to 3.9. Republicans, on the other hand, went from um, 3.5 million up to 3.6. So they gained 100,000. So you have Democrats in registration with a 6% loss, Republicans with a 2% gain. Um, Now, if you're going to argue that the Republicans are cannibalizing their vote, okay, but you have to acknowledge that since 2020, they now have a bigger pool to take from. So let's say, yeah, they've cannibalized 100,000 votes. Well, guess what? They still have 100,000 registered Republicans that they still could potentially bring out. So I don't necessarily believe that argument, um, just because I don't see the data as being there. It's possible, and I'll say it. Yeah, it's absolutely possible. Yeah, there is Amish in Michigan. I did forget that there are Amish in Michigan. I don't know if they're registering. There's a guy that I follow on YouTube who's uh he's former Amish. He left his community after his dad passed away, and they had essentially shunned his dad, but he still has connections with a lot of Amish communities, even though the one he was from doesn't talk to him. And he was saying that they are registering tons of people. And he's like, this is in Ohio, this is in Pennsylvania. So that's where, you see the data, like, and I have seen the Pennsylvania data on registration, and I've seen the data on registration in Ohio. And so the anecdotal evidence supports the data. That's why I'm open to believing it. And like the guy who was telling me that Republicans were cannibalizing, he was like, "Well, there's a lot of Republicans leaving the Republican Party to vote for Harris." And I'm like, I don't think Harris is going to outperform Scranton Joe in Pennsylvania. It's possible. Is it likely? I don't think so. So I was like, okay, I hear your anecdotal evidence, but where is the data for this? If you want me to believe this, show me. Show me where you think this is occurring. I just don't think it is. Um, Largest Amish population is in Clare. They're all voting. I can believe that. Again, I see the data in Ohio and Pennsylvania. To think that it's different in Michigan, okay, it's possible. But again, most times when you get these demographics, especially regional demographics, and I'll give you an example. The Polish in Northwest Ohio, where I'm from, they vote much like the Polish people who are in Eastern or Western Pennsylvania. And I know that because I have connections to both. And I know how those people think. It's a very Rust Belt mentality. And when you look at the other Eastern European demographics in Pennsylvania, they're not too different or dissimilar. And then the whole, you take that Rust Belt and you start going up into Wisconsin, into the WOW counties of Waukesha, Oshkosh, and I forget the other, Waukesha, Oshkosh, and Waukegan. That's why they call them the WoW counties, because it spells WoW. Uh, it's a big Polish area there that goes all the way up to Green Bay. So, people with very similar values, very similar religions, that's why. Can there be discrepancies and changes? Absolutely, there can be. But and you see that same group as you get up. So people in Michigan, this is how they give directions. Okay, just like this, the mitten. And when you get to those Polish counties in the thumb, there's a lot of Polish people up there. There's a lot of Polish people all over, but the ones specifically in the thumb, they they very much vote along the lines of the ones I grew up alongside in Northwest Ohio. Um, Eminem was forced. They have dirt on him. Usher. I mean, whatever. Whatever. I don't think celebrities, I don't think they change anyone's vote. I think when they do that, all they do is sell less tickets to movies and music shows, because you risk alienating the other side. I think it was Bob Hope. They asked him why he didn't get into politics. I believe it was Bob Hope, and he said, "Because Democrats vote too, or Democrats buy tickets as well." Uh, I think that's who it was. I wonder if he attended any Diddy parties. There was a video out yesterday on YouTube talking about Jay-Z spilling the tea about um, Diddy. I tried watching it, but it was these house calls, and it's very clear that Diddy is trying to hide stuff. He's like, burn the pizza boxes, which those are all codes. Uh, but like when I was sitting there, I was like, okay, where is this at? And it was like a 40-minute video. If you want me to not watch your video, make it like 40 minutes. It's like, I'm talking about a video. I try not to, like my videos, I think the longest video I've ever done is like 20 minutes. I'll do lives, but my videos, yeah, like 20 minutes at the longest. And most times I'm trying to keep them under 5. I want you to be able to get whatever I'm trying to communicate to you and be done. As we used to say in the military, be brief, be bold, be brilliant, be gone. Germans in Frankenmuth, Michigan. Yep. Yeah, the Germans vote very similar to the Polish in the Rust Belt. So, I just use and I'm Midwestern German. So, you're talking, my people. Um, but yeah, like I just know the mentality, you know, I grew up with it, understand how those people think, how they act, how they talk. Um, and yeah, those were always very pro-Trump people. Um, so yeah. Um, hmm, hmm, hmm. I'm just looking at things here. I'm going to be wrapping things up. But yeah, so that's why you guys know why I wasn't on the stream last night. It wasn't because I didn't want to be there. I really did, actually. I was really looking forward to it, but yeah, couldn't get there. Um, but yeah, so I might do a stream later on today. I will almost definitely do a coffee stream tomorrow. I've got a video I need to put out. Um, Maybe I'll put that up for Sunday, because I don't think I'm gonna be able to do a stream on Sunday, or at least Sunday morning. I won't be able to. So there'll be content from me coming out, so you guys still can see me. I'm still humbled that you guys pay attention to anything I say. And when I get people who are like, "You're just a loser with a stupid opinion," I'm like, guilty. My granddad came over at the age of 1 and served in World War One. Awesome. I've got some parts of my family that came pre World War One, some post World War One, And I even have some that fought in the Revolutionary War, some that fought in the Civil War. Oh, we got Brett and Mayor Therese. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, that's it's funny. Yeah, I'm very, very much a mixed mutt of different American stuff. But I do produce gingers. My son has the reddest hair. Um, yeah, we're talking about doing a couple things, me and him. He normally ends up as my cameraman. Time to go make banana bread. Time to make the donuts. Well, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Um, Everyone make fun of Spawn Trooper for being in bed. Oh, Wilburns is making applesauce. I need to go get me some apple butter. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. I need to go and get apple butter. This is the season for apple butter. If you've never tried apple butter, do yourself a favor. Go and try it. It is amazing. It's got like this apple smoky flavor to it. It's so good. But all right, folks, I'm going to get going. Thank you for being here. And as always, thank you for being worth serving.